Why haven't I received the latest Windows 10 update? You know, this one is coming up a lot in recent weeks. The most recent Windows update, 1903 is the update number for March of 2019, has had some issues. And as a result, a lot of people have been expecting it and they're not getting it. And because of the issues, a lot of people are worried about it. I've been getting asked both how to prevent it from installing and how to get it because people are interested in some of the other features that are included in the update. I will say that Microsoft has continued their unblemished record of providing very blemished updates to Windows 10. This one is another unfortunate in a series of problematic Windows updates. What happened, apparently, with this one, 1903, is that when installed, when the update is installed on an existing machine, it can accidentally change the drive letters associated with some of the drives on your system. So, for example, you might have an external drive connected, a USB drive, assigned drive letter D, and after the update it might not be D anymore. It might be letter F or E or something. The important thing is that it's different, which is not supposed to happen in Windows. It's supposed to remember the drive letter associated with a specific drive. That's a problem because, of course, the software you have installed on your machine that you've been using accessing drive D isn't there anymore, right? It's not the drive that it used to be. What's worse is that apparently this can happen to internal drives as well. I've not heard of it happening to C drives, to your system drives. My assumption, and it is only an assumption, is that if your machine has more than one internal drive, this can probably happen as well. So as a result of all this, Microsoft they haven't paused the update, but they've at least paused it for those people who apparently have multiple drives on their system, which these days, especially with external drives, seems to be just about everybody. And it is paused in this state until they get the issue resolved. So, of course, one question I'm getting is, well, how do I get the next one? I know it's out there for some people. How do I get it? I don't have a clear answer on this. The best way to at least try to get it would be to run Windows Update manually and see if it happens. This is true for just about any Windows feature update, just not limited to 1903, but just about any of them. You can, in the case of 1903, since it seems to be related to additional drives, you might consider disconnecting your external drives. And anything else you happen to have that would fall into that category, and see if that then allows the update to install for you. I do not have any information on whether or not the drive letters will be reassigned once you reinstall or reattach the external drives that you may have removed. So proceed with caution if that's what you find yourself doing. And as with most things, my recommendation is that you actually start this process with a full image backup of your system so that you have something you can revert to should things not end up in a state that you can live with. The other question, of course, is how do I avoid 1903, or how do I avoid the next Windows update when it comes along? That's been a long-standing question simply because Windows updates have had a track record of having some issues when they get installed. They seem to take about several weeks to fully cook after they've been released before most people, or before a lot of people, really feel comfortable installing them. The short answer here is nothing new. If you are running Windows Pro or better, by better I mean Enterprise or whatever other more expensive editions of Windows 10 you happen to be running, you will have the option to delay the update for upwards of about a month, I think it is. After that month, you will have to take it. But a month, like I said, seems to be about the right amount of time a lot of people feel they want to wait before accepting the next feature update from Windows 10. If you're running Windows Home, I have an article on it on how to disable Windows Update for Windows 10 Home. The problem with that approach is that Windows seems to magically revert it, undo it, without warning, without notification, meaning that unless you're vigilant, you will suddenly get the update anyway without warning. So it's a way to defer it, again, much like the Windows 10 Pro edition, except that it's not a fixed time scale. It will suddenly undo itself at some point and the update is going to come. The only thing I can truly recommend, regardless of what version of Windows you're running, is, of course, to have a regular backup strategy. Have a full image backup, ideally daily, that allows you to revert your system to the state it was in before the Windows update happens if you find out that the Windows update is causing you a problem. It actually doesn't cause a problem for most people. But for those that it does, of course, it can be a significant hit, hence the backup as a way to have something you can revert to. The question that's been getting asked over and over again, not just with this update, but with some of the other updates in the past, has been, how did this happen? How did Microsoft let something like this get released? And the short answer is that we do not know. We literally do not know, and we have no way of knowing, unless somebody from Microsoft makes a statement that says, such and such is what happened. The reality is, everybody else who claims they know what happened is simply speculating. They're simply guessing or making it up to try and have some kind of content that they can produce that tries to explain why things are what they are. Personally, while I absolutely sympathize with the incredible complexity that Windows 10 represents, both in terms of the operating system itself and in the complex number of combinations of hardware and different kinds of hardware that it has to run on and run on reliably. Yes, that makes this a very, very hard problem for Microsoft to solve, but it's their job to solve it. And this particular example was such an obvious problem that I'm truly shocked that it didn't get caught beforehand. And that it made it past, for example, their insider's preview program, where presumably, quote unquote, real people are using the product as well. So I'm not sure what happened. We don't know what happened. And you know what? To be totally pragmatic about it, doesn't matter what happened. You and I, we have what we have. We have to deal with what they released or what they're delaying or what they're not releasing. What happened doesn't really impact us other than the result and us having to figure out how to deal with the result. So what next? Well, obviously, I expect Microsoft is fixing this problem. I certainly hope that they are fixing this problem. And I certainly hope that they're fixing the larger problem, the problem with their release process that's allowing problems like this to make it out the door. There really should not be an excuse for this kind of a thing happening. We, as users of Windows 10, we deserve better from Microsoft. Like I said, this is their job. Their job is to make sure that what they release is stable and works and doesn't cause problems, certainly not of this magnitude, for the installed base. So what next? Well, like I said, we will be waiting patiently, I hope, for the next update with this problem presumably resolved. My general recommendation of what to do really hasn't changed that much. As always, I actually do recommend you keep your machine as up to date as possible. Keep Windows Update turned on most of the time, and for most people, there actually isn't an issue. Even though there's a problem with 1903, Microsoft did the right thing. They've stopped its distribution. People running Windows Update, like me, aren't seeing 1903 because presumably they would be negatively impacted by it. So Microsoft is at least doing the right thing in that sense. Windows Update is important to keep your system as up to date as possible. We're still getting security updates, even if we're not getting these feature updates. Be patient. This is a surprising thing to have to say, but especially for 1903 is a good example because it actually does have features that people have been waiting for, specifically features that would address this very issue for Windows Home. It supposedly has an approach to delaying feature updates, but you have to get the feature update in order to delay future feature updates, so people are interested in getting that feature update sooner rather than later. All I can say is be patient. Wait for the right update to come. You don't want the wrong one. You want one that works and works for you. Backup. Specifically, like I said earlier, make sure you're doing image backups on a regular basis. An image backup, especially if it's done daily, is one of those things where if you wake up in the morning and you find out that Windows Update happened and your machine isn't working the way you want it to work, you can revert. You can install yesterday's backup image. It's an image of absolutely everything, top to bottom. It's a safety net. It's the ultimate safety net for just about anything that can go wrong, be it Windows Update or a hardware failure or something else completely. I can't, as you know, I can't recommend a backup strategy more strongly when we're faced with these kinds of issues. And finally, continue to be skeptical when it comes to the various news reports and pundits talking about whatever the latest problem is with Windows 10 or with any software for that matter. Their job is not necessarily to give you the most accurate information. In many cases, their job is to get you to click on a link so that they can show you ads. Stick to sites and services and sources of information that you trust. Hopefully I'm one of them, but it doesn't really matter. Find those that you do trust and pay attention to them. Don't let somebody else's the world is coming to an end kind of headline make you take steps that are inappropriate for your situation or that would cause you more problems than whatever it is they're talking about would in the first place. Like I said, there's been lots of headlines, lots of articles about the current Windows Update problem. In reality, for a variety of reasons, very few people have been directly impacted by this. It's been more noise than it has been, noise and concern, than it has been actual impact on real users of Windows 10. So always take headlines and news reports with a grain of salt. Skepticism is one of the most important tools you can have in general, and it's something that I do recommend you apply to situations like this. Finally, whenever I talk about Microsoft's failings, and no doubt this is a failing, they did screw up. I'm not in any way claiming that they didn't. It brings out a lot of commentary. My one request is that we keep it civil, that we keep it respectful. It's one of the reasons that I do commentary. I have comments disabled on YouTube and enabled on my site because things can get negative, things can get disrespectful. On Ask Leo, we moderate all the comments, we keep the discussion civil, we make sure that when people leave a comment, they're actually adding value to the discussion and expressing opinions in an appropriate way. So that being said, if you're viewing this somewhere other than on AskLeo.com, this is AskLeo.com/76980. I encourage you to visit there. Leave your comment. There'll be related links there and more. Until next time, thanks for watching. I'm Leo Notenboom. This is AskLeo.com.